You know, we have 3 really great teams. I want all of them to win, but only one can show us off at MSI. Only one can show that EU is better than NA. I have to go with G2. Let's go G2, let's go.
G2 You know what to do with this. Spam this static to help Fnatic.
Fnatic! Fnatic! So we all know
who's gonna win it all on Sunday. Let's go G2!
G2 and we're G2 Army.
We are G2.
Go, go, let's go, Fnatic.
Let's go G2!
Fnatic. Fnatic.
Let's go G2.
Let's go Fnatic.
This one goes for Helisen. Fnatic. Fnatic.
Let's go G2.
Let's go Fnatic.
Let's go Fnatic!
Let's go G2. Let's go G2.
Fnatic! Fnatic! Fnatic!
G2 esports. Everyone else gets clapped.
Fnatic are the kings of the West, and they will represent in the World Final!
I feel sad in the middle, got told it hurts a little.
Fnatic topple G2, and now your spring split champions!
Down that road I've been running all my life, now I'm sudden.
Only Faker is left alive to look as his team crumbles.
RNG are done! All 3 European teams make it to the knockout stage! Fnatic eliminate RNG! Let's see whether or not this will find out! Perth blows up RNG!
We're taking shape, circles in my
This is what peak League of Legends looks like, and it comes from Europe! A world record! G2 esports 3-0 will win MSI 2019!
You and me are not so crazy.
Origin are crumbling to G2. Europe yields to its champion, G2 Esports.
They take it! G2 are your champions!
Taking shape. We're taking shape.
Wonders in the pit with 3 members of Origin, but Wonder has already got the kill on Destiny. Upset, no flash. No way out of this as Caps jumps forward, and G2 have found the fight in the river that they were looking for.
You and me are not so crazy.
He's got the shot down, and now Destiny's getting chased off towards the bottom side. Zessi opens up with a haymaker teleport coming in for the win, as G2 looks to close this one out.
Chasing, we're chasing, we're taking shape.
Oh no. Oh, the emote! I'm sorry, if you're tired of me getting excited about emotes, I get it. That's a double kill coming through for Selfmade. Gonna give one more over to a triple for the Gragas. He's gonna look for a little bit more. That's going to be a quadra for the Gragas.
It has been a long, exciting, and interesting journey, but the day is finally upon us. Get ready, everybody. Rookies and veterans, villains and heroes. The LEC 2020 Spring Finals start right now.
We're taking shape.
welcome everyone to the day we have all been waiting for, as G2 and Fnatic are going to battle it out for the LEC Spring title in just under an hour. I'm super stoked and I can't wait to see what they do. My name's Shox and I'm joined here by Frosk and by Yamato for today.
Death, Taxes, and G2 versus Fnatic. I think Medic said it best. We have never had a final without one of these teams. And I know that we throw around a lot of big words like Legacy, Dynasty, King, but the fact of the matter is that G2 and Fnatic are not kings of Europe. They are gods of Europe.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, I'm excited because honestly, it's always about, the story. We've been talking about how G2 and Fnatic, how they shaped their entire spring split for this finals. This is the finals we expected and the final we all deserve. I am super, super hyped.
Absolutely. A small note, I just want to thank everyone who's been watching in this from home setup for the past few weeks, and especially the people and our fans out of Hungary. We were supposed to be in Budapest at this point in time, but we hope that we can still give you a fantastic show. And I just want to thank you especially for all your support that you've been sending into us to keep us going and to make this show for you. But I got to tell you, it isn't difficult. It is a pleasure to make this show for all of you. So let's get into it. Let's get into the stories of these two teams, because it's been such an incredible, crazy ride this spring split altogether. This is now a new chapter in EU's greatest rivalry so far, G2 versus Fnatic. Now, first, feast your eyes on this. This is the amount of titles that these teams have gathered over the past few years. That is just mesmerizing.
Yeah, and it looks a little bit skewed if you kind of look at recency bias. Since I've joined the LEC, I've really only known the G2 dominance. I wasn't here for the rise of Fnatic, but it really has been a big back and forth, blow for blow. But I checked into the numbers and I did discover something, that Fnatic have actually never beaten G2 in a best of 5 without caps. So they had their hero, they pulled it back. You can see that in spring and summer of 2018, but since losing him, they've to really take down their primary villains and rivals in G2. So today, Reckless has a chance to not only slay the villain of G2, but to slay the hero or former hero of Fnatic.
I think you touched on the key point there, is that, ever since G2 joined, which was spring 16, when they had that, rookie season for Perks and they blew out. Before that, Fnatic, where was the competition? And now there's this big rivalry. If we look at only the competition that has happened after G2 has entered the scene, it's been 6-2 in terms of titles.
And I really want to say this again. I know I said it before, every single time G2 and Fnatic clash. If you're brand new to the LEC, if you only tune in during finals, the only thing you need to take away is that we have the best rivalry in League of Legends. This is not just the best rivalry in Europe. You look at LPL, RNG versus EDG, that one's dead. Look over at LCS, TSM versus CLG, they're not in the finals. You look at Korea, LCK, it's SKT or T1 now versus KT, that doesn't matter. G2 versus Fnatic is the epitome of rivalries in League of Legends.
Yeah, fantastic. And people say, well, isn't it boring? It's always the same two teams. I think those people are crazy, because as we saw it in the opening video, you know that this isn't just because they perform here. These are two teams that have consistently been slaying it internationally as well. Worlds Finals, MSI victory. So you know when they play each other, you're going to see the best League of Legends and some of the best plays that you will see worldwide. And that's why we're so hyped, and we're never getting tired of this at all. There you go.
They print championships. There's something in the DNA of these teams.
That it is. Okay, so we've sung their praises enough, right? Let's get into how they actually
let's tear them down.
Let's tear them down. So yesterday, MAD versus G2 esports. It was the elimination game, the semi-final after G2 clawed back out of the lower bracket. And the question was, if they beat MAD, how convincing is it? And what do we think?
I think definitely G2 has bounced back in a beautiful way ever since that Origin series. We've seen like this growth of Caps becoming a real AD carry, so to speak, showing up with the Vayne and the Kalista. I think in general, I felt like Fnatic showed us the recipe as to how you're supposed to beat Mad Lions, and I felt like G2 applied that in a fine way, and the series didn't look like G2 ever lost control.
Yeah, and you can see that in their stats as well. I had an inkling that Mickey's jungle proximity would have fallen off because he was kind of stuck on Yuumi duty. He wasn't roaming around, but I checked into the numbers and he has one of the highest jungle proximities we've ever seen, and it just goes to a testament of the sheer camp that Jankos gave that bot lane for Caps and Mickey during these series. So if Fnatic kind of printed off that blueprint, the stats show that G2 are a very heavy bot lane focused team as far as playoffs are concerned.
Well, then talk to me about the Caps conundrum. He picked up the MVP, the Kia player of the series, again. He also did last week after the games versus OG. So where do we land now on his skill in the bot lane and how he's played these playoffs?
I think Caps is good and is improving. I think the key thing about Caps is that his lowest lows are such moments that really etch themselves into your memory. Like the whole spring split was all about Caps dying, I don't know how many times, to Misfits against that Rakan playing Aphelios, and now the best of 5 against Mad Lions. And I think it's easy to forget all the good things he did. The Talia performances, the Senna performances, and on top of that, you know, the good performances in playoffs now as well.
It goes back to that mentality of like, Fnatic have never beaten G2 in a best of 5 without Caps, and technically they could have Caps playing on their side today, despite the fact that he's on the other team. Like those are the hit and miss performances that you can get from him.
I mean, I guess that's true. We'll see how it is today. Finally, I do want to say goodbye to the Mad Lions. They are out, but they fought so valiantly. And I think the biggest takeaway here is that they came into the playoffs and just a split in general with an aggressive style, willing to take the fight to the top teams. And that is what is the most awesome about their run, I think.
I think rookie teams always talk about, you know, the coaches speak about it, the 1-year plan, how we want to grow and improve. And Mad Lions getting 3rd place already now. Usually the plan is get to the World Championship, and this is the story of most rookie teams, but they don't show up this big in spring split. It's an amazing start. I think they can only grow, and I think the ceiling hasn't been reached yet for Mad Lions, because I think the way they approach the game is the right way. They're trying to test the limits and push the limits all the time.
And on top of that, they put a lighter under the butts of some of the other teams, right? If you're a Rogue and you're an Origin and you see, oh, well, these guys who just play and go hard in the paint from minute 1 are getting results. What does that mean for us if they're snagging away our 3rd places and our 2nd places going forward?
I think it means that you need to step up if you're Rogue and Origin, because Mad Lions are no longer just the rookie team. They're actual contenders, and that's the title that Origin and Rogue are supposed to have.
Indeed. Now, that's it for the LEC. We have our 2 teams in the final across the globe. Of course, in the other leagues, the action is also kicking off. They are in their playoffs or building up to the final. So let's take a look across the globe and see what the world's opponents look like after last year. Last time we saw the LPL, of course, FPX world champion the year before IG, and over in the LPL, they're still reigning supreme. Number 1 and 2 out of the regular season, and high hopes for them going into the playoffs.
Yeah, if you kind of peek into what's happening, it's your Invictus Gaming, your FPXs, all the teams that Europe already knows that they should be afraid of. But underneath kind of those big 2 names are the Fnatics and the G2s of the LPL. That would be your EDG and your RNGs, and these teams are actually getting back into form. And then the Mad Lions of the LPL would be a team like eStar, this brand, fresh new faces, and they're starting to take some names. So it's not just a 2-horse race, it is actually a very top-heavy stacked league with about 6 to 7 teams that are true contenders for a title.
I think the only name that I would add to that box is Top Esports with the acquisition of Jackie Love. This was something that everyone speculated for a very long time what's going to happen, and now Knight, regarded for some as the best mid laner. Now I think Top Esports definitely could make a run for it and shake things up in this bracket.
And I can't believe I even forgot the origin of the LPL would be a team like JDG, this team that plays a pretty straightforward style. They're a bit roam heavy, but they are always so close to victory, but yet just slips away from them at the final hurdle. They're also trying to get their shit together and make a run for the LPL title.
Okay, well, we'll see. Their playoffs start on the 22nd of April. Over in the LCK, as you know, their system is that according to your seeding after the regular season, you get seeded into a gauntlet-style bracket. The final boss there is Gen G. SKT is in the 2nd round, and Dragon X was in the 1st round, and we just saw that Damwon beat KT, so we'll be going up against Dragon X.
The season has been super close. Gen.G got that 1st place position through, win-loss ratios because they play best of 3s, and it's absolutely crazy to think now that Damwon need to beat Dragon X, and now after that they need to beat T1, and then they have to beat Gen.G. It's absolutely nuts because the gauntlet system is just perfect because, as you mentioned, these are 3 bosses that you need to get through, and the playoffs are going to look super exciting because we don't know how these top teams are going to match up. T1 took the number from Gen.G, DRX took a game from T1. It's been all over the place and it's hard to predict.
Yeah, it has been. It's one of the closest splits of the LCK we have seen so far, which will hopefully make for very exciting playoffs. Finally, let's take a look at the LCS. First up, there's so many of our EU brethren over there, and they've gone over there with varying success, but I think this is a good year for the exports. Look at that, all in playoffs, and a lot of them in the finals as well.
And we're also missing a couple of LEC veterans on this graphic. I was told that we didn't have enough space to fit everyone onto that, so I see that the LEC is not only carrying Europe, but also carrying the LCS, true to tale.
It's very nice. I'm excited for FlyQuest. You know, they had the story of growth. Of course, my boy Jizuke lost to FlyQuest yesterday, but it seems like the reunion of Power of Evil and Ignar is definitely working. The last time we saw them play together, they took SKT to 5 games, and now they're looking to beat Cloud9, but it looks super tough because Cloud9 looks pristine over in the NALCS.
Yeah, they look so absolutely dominating Cloud9. It would be their first title since 2014, I believe. So that's crazy. It'll all kick off at 10 p.m. tonight after, hopefully, our matches have just concluded, because I'm really hoping we get 5 games today. But good luck to all of the teams playing later. Here in the LEC, however, we are at the end of a fantastic split, and it gave us tons of great moments. So let's take a look at those. 2019 was such a successful opening season for the LEC that we figured we'd ruin it by making a sequel that has no chance of living up to the hype of the first one. So get ready for the post-Worlds G2's tragedy arc, the Rogue from Rags to Riches storyline, and many more significantly worse versions of VODS.
Larson has to run away now. Big crit. Following for Vivian, jumping forward. Larson
Nemesis is being eaten away by the Cannon Barrage. He stays alive long enough. Ari in the 1v2. This is going down. Gillies getting inside the pit. He steals it. Gillies steals away the Baron.
And Vitality should get this, but Trick is going in. They try and he gets it away. No way should you do that. SK are unable to find it, and now the fight really begins as Dada gets into the middle of them. And look at the damage.
It's over the wall. The hook going to go in on a Forgiven Kingdom play League of Legends. The thing about Schalke is it's a lot of names that I was excited to see, but it's an absolute mess. Forgiven is not the man that he once was.
Now you're back in mid lane. What's made this decision happen?
We are mostly just experimenting.
I like Swag.
Gage. Ooh, now we see the chase coming in from Origin.
Oh, whoa! That burst comes from us!
But he can play so aggressive!
He can go for 2! He went for 2!
Oh, Shadow does not want this fight! You have to get him low enough to execute him. But he loses.
Talking about!
He's trying to outplay their opponent.
That's it. From 10 to 20.
Mickey?
Death Sentence won't find a target. It may not be needed. The ultimate comes up by some time. Mickey with a help. Are you kidding me? That is all of Fnatic.
On the way in, still on a fight, man. Kim up for the dive. He's going to dunk the Soraka.
Whoa! Combo!
Fearlessly diving in. Carzy! Looking to style on it. They're going to try to pull him back into the fountain. They want to finish the suplex back. He's dunking him down. Reckless now flashing back instantly, but it's a beautiful ult from Nemesis. Turns. It's so clean. It's self-made and Nemesis versus the world. They're obliterating everyone. Don't have time. Fight top lane.
Yeah, down that flashing in. Mazel. Look at where the power could be.
Misfits took down the undefeated, defending LEC champions G2.
5 seconds for the kill.
1, 2, 3, 4.
They got it.
He gets it. Pentakill. Follow Carzy. There are so many spears. Kaiser and Carzy are doing so much work.
Finn with the world end of Dream's trying to jump in, but Finn is in the back line. Inax almost down. That's 1, that's 2. It's Finn. Look at him just shredding through Schalke.
Mad Lions and Rogue have shown they can compete against the best in the field.
Now it's a true base race as Seiken goes in. Will they get back in time? Seiken is on the Nexus for the first time in 182 days. Vitality win.
There he is.
Let's find out. Oh! Upset with a QSS flash.
The snares are there. Dan is looking for a victory lap as he just runs through the Excel lineup. Dan, you got what a cleanup. Way too controlled, way too patient, but meanwhile in the mid lane, Hillsang's getting kicked off the pullback. That's a clean combo. Fnatic will move up and continue the fight for first place.
Schalke, Nulfia, SK Gaming, and Vitality are out of playoff contention.
Look for that true shot barrage. Yanko's going to jump into the pit. He goes on top. He steals this. Yanko, so much weight on his shoulders in this game.
How close was this? Let's get some super slow-mo. Ulti comes through, but
13 HP.
Oh my word.
G2 will take the win. With it, they claim top spot in the LEC.
The script has been served to us on a silver platter as the top teams face off to decide who's the best in the LEC.
Why did you pick the Mad Lions?
Well, I suppose we just thought that they are the worst team.
He's on the Nexus! Watch the Nexus! Starting to go low! There the Dallas pushing in! Caps! Oh! No! Caps! He bounces! They almost got the kill! It's not enough! Mad Lions! They turn it around! Shadow, he's going to be taking so much damage, but look, he's still not down. He's got a teammate to work with. Equalizer comes out. They've done it! Mad
Lions have defeated G2.
Mad Lions will now play the winner of Fnatic versus OG. And G2 is down to the lower bracket.
Wait, upset. Oh, a great hook from Destiny stops Upset from getting caught out. Now he's able to flash with Whippo, able to land the final Darking Blade. Nukeduck already almost down. He gets caught out, and now Upset's the next target. They're just dead. That is the series for Fnatic. They will meet Mad Lions in our winners bracket next week.
We are closing out round 1 of the playoffs with Misfits Gaming and Rogue.
Oh no, Inspired over the wall. Oh, the flash body slam. B-Boy trying to make it out to safety. No, not again. Another 80 carry making the play that loses his team the game.
How the bracket has formed up, this does mean that Rogue will face off against Origin.
Bullet time is available. It's going into the pit. That's Inspired dead. Rogue dead. Bullet time picks up Baron, and Rogue will be eliminated by Origin.
Fnatic versus Mad Lions. It is experience versus rookies.
Well, come on, Roman. Gonna go flash it all into 3. That's the combo. That's the kickoff. But Reckless is firing back. So much damage from Reckless. Cardsy next to the list. Give him the penta. Fnatic put their hands in the sky and say, who is next?
We are closing out round 2 with a rematch of last year's spring final.
Nukeduck gets exhausted and will fall. There's the triple. Destiny next on the menu for the quadra kill for Caps. Caps with a penta kill. G2 will take the win, and they are hankering for another shot at the rookies next week.
Oh, some amazing stuff. A quick shout out to our video team. It's not easy to make all these videos without usually the crowd shots and all the cheering, but they managed to give me goosebumps with that summary of the split, and the teams also did, honestly.
Yeah, it's
goosebumps.
Been frankly a wild ride, and even without the crowd, I feel like you can still see like everything lighting up on social media. It feels like everyone's been just as active, even though we're not in the studio.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen a lot of highlights from many, many teams. But the nature of, the competition is that there can only be 2 left standing ahead of the final and only 1 lifting the trophy. And in most cases in Europe, that has been G2 and Fnatic, as is indeed, again, the case today. So, just to reiterate again how massive it is that they keep being on top here. And I think it's about the fact that they push each other to be better, and they push the region to be better. And they keep being on top because of it.
We're incredibly lucky in the LEC that we have 2 teams that you're saying are continuously find that extra edge, that continue to elevate each other. Because it's one thing to reach the top, it's another thing to stay on top. And so I think because we have these 2 titans that can go back and forth, that it helps kind of maintain these dynasties. But that said, all good things must come to an end, and I feel like the Fnatic faithful and the G2 army are kind of waiting to see where the cards are gonna fall today.
I've had the privilege to compete against these teams during these years, most of the time on different teams, and they've always set the standard. When you get to practice against them, you just feel this is the bar that you need to reach and something to strive for. So I agree completely with the notion that they level up the whole region. And this is so key for a region to have success because, as we're seeing now, a lot of teams are spawning, getting better, and I'm loving what we have over here in Europe.
Yeah, if we break it down to the separate teams, of course, we have G2 Esports, who is the youngest of the 2 in terms of the orgs entering into the European League of Legends scene. And they immediately lit a fire under the butts of Fnatic. They immediately got those 2 titles. They now have an MSI title, something Fnatic can't say either. And in a very short amount of time, respectively, they have pushed Fnatic to the edge.
It's kind of been a contest of who is the most dominant team that Europe has ever created, and not just domestically, but also internationally. And for a long time, Fnatic kind of sat on that throne with the World 1 Championship and repeatedly appearing and showing up these international events where G2 were kind of stumbling back. But now, since the MSI victory, it feels like the tables really have turned and started to more so favor or tip towards G2 being the most dominant team that Europe has ever created, which to Fnatic fans is a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And I feel like the key thing when it comes to G2 is how ruthless they've been in their acquisitions. They won the split and they kept making changes, taking Sven and Mithy from the team that they faced in the finals. Now, in the end, they have this super roster and they've just been always moving forward, trying to stay ahead of the curve. And I think this is what makes G2 so good.
Yeah, and you forget the most important one, taking Caps from Fnatic.
Yes.
And Fnatic needed Caps to beat G2 in the first place. And I think that's why when you look at Fnatic, it's also so impressive how they have kept going. Because I heard a lot of voices, and I was also of the opinion, what on earth are they going to do without Caps? And then in the end, without Broxa, who's now gone over to Team Liquid. But they made it work. And they have so much talent on that roster. So they can keep evolving. And now they have a chance to take that crown back from G2 Esports.
It's about defaulting to trust. These teams, and Fnatic in particular, have reinvented themselves so many times. Think of how many legendary mid laners have gone through Fnatic's halls who they've crafted into these icons. And yeah, losing Caps was a huge blow, but there's always going to be that voice that says, you know, if there's any team that can deal with that, that's probably Fnatic. Their ability to find talent, to raise talent, and then to print championships is pretty much unparalleled.
You have to know that you're doing things right when every player in the region just dreams of either joining Fnatic or G2, because you know joining these teams, success comes, knowledge, experience comes, and everything with it.
That is true. Let's take a look at the stats for Fnatic in the playoffs so far. As said, they were number 2 going into the playoffs, behind G2 in the regular season, but they are, until now, definitively the best performing team in playoffs so far.
And that's what's really exciting about this final matchup, not just that it's Fnatic and G2 and all the history that comes with it, but the fact is that it's the best regular split team in G2 versus the best playoff performing team in Fnatic. The TLDR of these stats is that they're disgustingly good. Fnatic are doing playoffs quick and are just running through towards that title.
It's always interesting, you know, the statistics all favor Fnatic, but it's so hard to predict the Fnatic G2 matchup because it always gets crazy and wild.
Indeed, we'll get to the predictions and your predictions at the end of Ready Check, so just a little a teaser there for that. So before we announce our spring split MVP, which we are going to do also in a little bit, we have to play the song that everyone is talking about. This is a new hit from LEC's best and only band.
Welcome to Berlin, Germany for the LEC Finals.
Your favorite jersey, order your favorite snack. These times are tough, we know it, but we've still got your back. Can't wait to share this moment, crowning our champs today. We might be in pajamas, we'll pop off anyway. The end of this long road, one team must stand above. Now it all comes down to this, every dream and every wish. Now it all comes down to this, take a step and fight for it. Now it all comes down to this, so chat, we've got a step for you. We are you, we are you, we are you. Made esports right from home, gave it a little flair. And when we band together, this passion will be shared. We've had some clown VS's, but the fighters never back down. Now that the greatest have gathered, who will win to hold the crown? At the end of this long road, one team must stand above. It all comes down to this, every dream and every wish. Now it all comes down to this, take a step and fight for it. Now it all comes down to this, so chat, we've got a step for you. We are you, we are you, we are you.
Awesome. Yamato, now that we got you, I know it's finals, but the most important question, is that suit ruined? What is going on with it?
It's just water. Like I didn't like shampoo it or something. It's just water. It's fine. You
Some
wash
people
it.
were saying you
the water.
shampooed your eyes, like to make it look like you were crying or to make it look like your eyes were red.
No. It's just I have lenses on, and just singing, getting water in your eyes, and having your eyes open really gets difficult after a couple of takes.
Yeah, I mean, you created a GIF. Anyway, I'll say them both so nobody can say I said it wrong for the ages. Okay, cool. Well, very fun stuff, and thank you for Electronic for bringing out that new song. It is time for something very, very special and something I know you're all waiting for. And while we saw many great players during the Spring Split, only one of them was worthy of becoming the Spring Split MVP.
You can see Selfmade quite low here as well. Caps might look for that true shot barrage. Yanko's going to jump into the pin. He goes on top. He steals this! Ankros, so much weight on his shoulders in this game, and he manages to get the steal. There's the Requiem. Good pass. Reprints.
Tell the Camp fans at home, how do you play a good Karthus?
Well, you just farm, so you don't actually leave your jungle. And what's really fun about Karthus is that it doesn't really matter if you hit the Q or not, as long as you can press the R button at the right time.
Right now, we see the action on the wrist.
Just get sick with the pen. Even impressed at the way we getting it in.
Just a double. It was a triple for Yanko. This shaky Shyvana, Benny. I don't want to say he's first place in Kia Player of the game.
Thank you very much, Shucks. And thank you, Yankas, for joining me. Congrats on being the 2020 Spring MVP for the LEC.
Thank you very much. I'm really happy that I have a back-to-back MVP.
Yeah, I mean, it's been something that you wanted for years up until last year, and now you get to be the back-to-back MVP. Is it something special for you?
I mean, I feel very proud of myself and very happy with my teammates, because I don't think getting MVP is like one guy only. I feel like my team kind of allowed me to shine and to play very well. They also ran it down a lot, like these games, like Caps Inting and like Perix Inting and stuff. So they helped me, they helped me a lot to get an MVP trophy.
I am glad that you bring that up, because I think you're gifted with amazing teammates. They're really strong and skilled. I mean, you're the best team in the LEC right now, but we know that it's a double-edged sword with the casual inting, as you said. So how do you keep up with so many crazy teammates like this?
I mean, I just think that we as G2 like to go crazy in the game. So just being like a pillar of the team that plays consistent each game allows me to perform well, right? I'm just trying to like follow the game plan that we have when we go into the game, or I'm just trying to follow our scrims patterns that we do, and I'm just trying to make like the safe calls, you could say, when everyone around me is just not always playing very well. But at the same time, I do think that my team, most of the time plays very well, and as a jungler, I'm where I'm supposed to be, and that just makes me look very strong.
Yeah, it's unexpected, and you have to keep up with everything they do and have the big picture of what's happening around the map. So that's the hardest part as a jungler. But do you wish sometimes you could, I don't want to say shine, but bring up the outside of the box picks? Because we don't often see you do that.
That's a fair point. I mean, I do like my carry junglers, but my team also likes the tank junglers. So I think throughout the split, I did play more of aggressive junglers than I used to last year, and that was very fun. And right now, even I think the playoff meta allows people to shine at different peaks. You can play like the aggressive Lee Sin Gragas style, or the more defensive, for example, like a Jarvan style. Some people do still play Sejuani, but for some reason I didn't get really forced on Sejuani throughout this year, so I'm very happy for that. But yeah, maybe I will have something in the back for the next split, something more crazy than the usual picks.
we'll see that. And let's not bring up the bad memories of the Sejuani troubles from last year. But coming into this year as the jungler of G2, again with a different mid laner, but that's not the question. Did you have any goals that you think you achieved within the split?
I mean, we for sure wanted to go 18-0, which we didn't achieve after all. But for myself, I just wanted to have like a good synergy with Luka, since he went from mid to bot, from bot to mid right now, and I feel like we used to be better in 2018 than we were at the beginning of 2020 together. But I feel like right now the synergy is back, and we can play very well around mid lane, me and him. And what was the most important goal of 2020 so far was for me to play around bot lane very well. And Caps, as a mid laner, was normally more of a quiet guy that was fine. He was like a little bit selfish, but also selfless, because he would never ask for help. And I don't think that's a correct way of playing the bot lane. Bot lane really needs attention because it's probably the most important lane, as there's two people there. So I think that how I play around duo lane and how they play around me improved so much throughout the split that I'm very happy with that.
And anything you want to keep on improving for next split, maybe? To get the back-to-back MVP, because that's the goal here now.
That's true. I mean, I think I need to improve my listen a little bit to like go against likes of Tian and kind of be even. But actually for that, I feel like I'm a very stable player, and I'm not always as shiny as some of the rookies, or I'm not always as, let's say, crazy as some of the veterans. But I do think that, I play pretty much well every game, and I'm pretty happy about my performance, considering that I've been playing this game for so many years, and still I can play very well. So for the next split, I will just try to probably convince my team that aggressive junglers is the way to go, and not only, basically Jarvan and go bot lane to make sure that bot lane can be ahead, because that's kind of the meta in League of Legends right now, where better bot lane always wins, so you just want to play on bot lane. But I mean, sometimes you can also play like 3 winning lanes and just like perma invade. That was the style I used to play like way back in the day, and I think that's something that really brings me joy, playing Elise and perma invading.
Yeah, you mentioned playing aggressive jungles twice now during this interview, so I think that's something you really want to do. And yeah, let's hope you can bring these aggressive picks for Summer Split. But to end this interview, is there anything you want to say for the fans and panel who voted for you for this award?
Well, I'm very grateful for all the votes, to the panel, to the people watching, to all the fans. I'm pretty sure that I will not disappoint you, because I'm trying my best, and if I do, then it sucks. But why I stayed kinda like consistent throughout the years, because I really like and enjoy League of Legends, and I'm always trying my best and to be on top, and that won't change for the next split or probably for the next year. So yeah, just watch me, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll be happy to see you shine once again. Thank you, Jankos, for being such an amazing interviewee and jungler MVP for the LEC here. Congrats again.
Thank you very much.
And back to you, Shox.
I had the privilege of working with this man 4.5 years ago in Rokat, and already then it was very easy to see that this man is something very, very special. For the longest time ever, Jankos was the player that was the best player to never have won a championship, and now I feel like he's finally on a team that he deserves, and he's getting the MVPs. Jungle as a role is, you do what your team allows you to do, and he's excelling, and back-to-back MVP, super, super deserved.
And when you take a look at the ballot, Jankos won by a huge margin. And reminder that it's regular split, not playoffs performance, so I feel like, again, a lot of people's initial reaction might be a bit colored by how G2 have done in playoffs versus regular split, but regular split, Jankos was absolutely smashing people, which is why he had such a dominant lead when we did all the tally for MVP votes.
And he's also such just a cool example of a player that really fought hard to get where he is, as you say, from KMT to Roccat to H2K to a G2 that is now printing championships, as Frostkern always puts it so fantastically. We'll see what he does today, because our Spring Split MVP, Jankos, will go up against Fnatic as he and G2 look to protect their title.
I believe in my roster. In the end, G2 will be the best team.
Just taking so much damage though, inside the pit. That's the showstopper from Wonder. Kaiser is now taken up by Cap.
I don't want to give away the throne to anyone.
Why don't you live a little?
Shadow, he gets the Baron. Is it going to be enough? Now the rest of the team has to retreat. Two members knocked by Fnatic. Fnatic don't even care. It was a bait to get the fight kicked off. They don't mind.
I've always tried to become the player that has the most titles, so that when I'm done playing, everyone will always compare their own records against mine.
I know one thing. I can say that with confidence that I'm 100% sure there's going to be 3 on our end of the scoreboard.
Bwipo is feeling confident that Fnatic can 3-0 today, and as for how they've been playing in the playoffs so far, I'm inclined to believe it, but of course G2 is a big mountain to climb. Let's talk about how these teams play, how they win games and sometimes also lose games. And when we talk about Fnatic, I think the first thing we talk about is flexibility and the fact that they can carry through every single lane.
I think the key thing with Fnatic, if you compare this Fnatic to previous rosters, usually it was all around the bot lane, but now I feel like we are in a situation where they can play with the jungler across the board. They can play through the bottom side, they can play through the top lane, they can play through the mid lane, and on top of that, when they get an advantage, all of these lanes know how to spread that pressure. That is what makes them so goddamn lethal.
It feels like Fnatic took a page out of G2's playbook, that they were tired of sitting in the back seat and watching G2 run over them, and they had to reinvent themselves. You know, you can no longer make the same complaints about Fnatic that you once could. Their champion pools are too limited. They can only play one style. They just play that style a little bit worse than RNG do. Now it is hyper-aggressive, picking where and how they beat you. They are a true Trident-style team that can beat you in top, mid, and bot lane.
I think a key trend that I've noticed with Fnatic is that they love to draft engage heavy composition, usually from Hylissang, and also of course Bwipo with these unique champion picks, and I think that fits in the meta currently beautifully because it's so Drake centered, Rift Herald centered, and this is where you want to start those fights, and Bwipo and Hilly know how to do it.
And what's cool to me is that they're able to be so dominant and to look so clean on the map with some relatively young members. Selfmade and Nemesis, yeah, they've got a split under their, or a season under their belt now, but they're still relatively inexperienced and young comparatively to the other veterans surrounding them, especially when you then look across at G2, who have just massive names and so much pedigree behind them that it's like, what is this true ceiling of Selfmade and Nemesis? Like, how far can they climb?
Indeed, and here we see G2 then, their opponents today, and they haven't had that destructive of a run in the playoffs so far. In fact, they started out by losing to Mad Lions, and that created a lot of doubt and made it very hard for us to kind of predict what their skill level was at this point in time.
I feel like this entire playoffs, G2 got a huge wake-up call in the first round, which I'm happy that they got. Imagine they won that, maybe everything would look different. Maybe they would drop the games against, Fnatic in one series already or something like that. It was a huge wake-up call. They've adapted to the current state of the meta. We talked about heavy bot lane focus, a lot of Kalista gameplay, Vayne gameplay, and Caps is becoming a more and more real AD carry. The Mad Lions series, maybe it was just a fluke, because in the end, they beat Mad Lions convincingly, beat OG convincingly, and this series against Fnatic is going to be super exciting because G2 throughout this playoffs have improved and they've gotten better at the current meta.
Now, they've gotten better at playing around the bot lane, but something that G2 is kind of like their bread and butter is their ability to play 2v2 in the mid jungle. And I know you, Yamato, specifically love to point this one out and how dominant Perks and Jankos are.
I love it. I'm always a big fan of mid 2v2. I think it's the most important thing on the map because the central is the easiest way to spread that pressure. I think G2 have shown throughout the split and also in the best of fives, even the games they won against Mad Lions in the first one, it was off of the back of Jankos and Perks' dominance. Throughout the split, maybe Wunder had a silly performance, Mickey or Caps had a silly performance, but throughout the split, Perks and Jankos delivered those victories over and over with a superior 2v2. If they're going to win out today, I really feel it's going to be through that mid lane because Perks, when it matters, he's going to pop off.
Yeah, and that's the key thing to take away. It's the fact that Perks is a clutch player, that the pedigree surrounding him is that he is kind of deserving of miracles because he's so experienced. He can just win you a game off the back of it. But so far, I haven't really seen that Perks that I'm used to seeing in playoffs. Like, there's been glimpses of it, but there's also been a couple of misses. So I hope today that we get Perks and Jankos in MVP and best form because they're going to need that if they're going to try to crack Fnatic.
True. Something that is always hard to kind of exactly discern, but that we have in the past is the fact that Fnatic doesn't seem to have mental edge versus G2 when they have met in these best of fives, and definitely in the last couple of years, G2 seem to have the upper hand when it comes to those matchups specifically.
when it goes to Game 5, Fnatic have never been able to beat G2, and again, Fnatic have never beaten G2 without caps. And you know, it's something that we eliminate when we talk about pro player, but everyone who's played League of Legends has had those games where you're sitting in your lane and you're just getting camped. You just keep saying to yourself, just let me play the game. Like, come on, like, why are you here? Stop this. And you can watch them till. And that absolutely happens in pro games. And it just feels like G2 have Fnatic's number. Like, Reckless has talked about kind of some of his mental blockers when it comes to some of the international teams, like facing RNG, and he was able to overcome those demons just this last time at Worlds. But I think he still needs to overcome the demons of facing G2, of getting over that last hurdle, because Fnatic gets so close to beating them, but there's always that tiny voice in the back of your head like, but remember, it's G2 and they're going to mess with you and they're going to pull you down.
Oh, well, undoubtedly they're going to get some help from their coaching staff for that. And in his first split as a coach, Mithy, of course, has a chance to bring the title back to Fnatic. So let's hear what he has to say ahead of this best of 5.
Thank you very much, Sharks. Welcome to the Live Like a Pro interview with Peko. Joining me right now is Mithy. How are you, Mithy?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's been 12 weeks of training and competition, and I wanted to bounce back on the interview we had 2 weeks ago. So can you tell me, what is the secret of keeping your players on top through these 12 weeks?
I don't think there's any secret. I think if they're on top is because they deserve to be there. They work really hard, and I don't think it comes like up to me to motivate them. I think they are all very motivated themselves.
And they will have this big task today with the finals. But if we have to take a step back here, from the time you were a pro player to this 2020 LEC season, what do you see as the most noticeable and good changes with the daily life of a pro player?
Ooh, this is a very hard question to answer because like I was in Origin, which has like a very specific model, and then Fnatic doesn't really have a model at all, and everyone just does what feels right for them. So I don't think it's been like a progression, the league in general. I think some organizations have been trying to approach it and others not so much. I think slowly we're getting there, like as a whole, like esports, like LEC, everyone, is slowly getting there. But but at least for this year, for Fnatic, the call I made was, we have a lot on our plates already, and I don't really want to make the guys crazy by getting them to start thinking about all this other stuff outside the game, and I just let them vibe themselves out and see what feels right, and try to check up on them regularly and see how they're feeling and if there's anything I can do to support them.
I agree with what you said, Mithy. Here, I think everyone adds his piece to the cake to make the esports scene grow bigger, and we'll see what you guys can bring to the table in the months to come. But now let's talk present. Fnatic being the team waiting in the final. I think this didn't happen in a few years. So does it change the way players mentally prepare for finals?
It for sure gives you an advantage because you have, more time and more games to watch. So for sure gives you an advantage. I mean, I was in a similar position when we played G2 when I was in Origin, and it really felt like it was a lot, on our plates. Like we like to play 2 best of 5s and like one after the other, and like so much tension and stuff. So definitely feel like there's an advantage for sure for being in the winner bracket. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, like all these teams that like Mad Lions, Fnatic, like all these teams, like they've worked their asses off, and they're great teams. So like even though we're on the finals and it feels great, we have to be on top of things.
I agree, and it's been an amazing season to watch. At least all these strong teams showing up. I was wondering, what is your take on the level EU has been displaying this year with the new rookies Mad Lions smashing G2 2 weeks ago, you guys staying on top over the years, and G2 still being strong? What do you think about that?
I think the league itself, like since it's spring split, it's normal. But yeah, I just think generally the level is worse than like last year's summer split. But better than last year's spring split, if that makes any, like if you can really correlate, so yeah, I think we're up for a very strong summer split, and I'm actually very excited for that. So
yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
I agree with you. I think team you usually evolve through the year, and we may have a stronger summer split than last year. Maybe we'll see about that in a few months. But for now, spring finals are on the table. Thank you very much, Mithy, for the interview, and good luck on the finals.
Thank you.
Thank you, and see you soon. Now back to you, Sharks.
Thank you very much. Indeed. So he's already looking forward to summer, and he says the level is maybe not that high in spring. So does that mean it's an easy game versus G2, or what should we take from that?
Honestly, I don't know. I doubt he's going to look at this easy, but I like what he talked about there in terms of, playing back-to-back best of fives. I've heard many times the G2 is a momentum-based team, so maybe this is the prime position to be in. Considering they have to play one best of five, they beat Mad Lions, they're happy, they bring that energy into the next one. Or if Fnatic can just sit down, this is what they do, this is their weaknesses, we've seen it everything. I don't think they're going to change between one day. There's so many things at play, it's online for the first time ever, who knows what's going to happen. It's absolutely crazy, and Mythi's position to be in this position for the first split, where all these variables are new, it's very challenging, and he's done a wonderful job.
Yeah, very challenging indeed, as it will be for everyone on the Rift today. So let's go by lane and talk about every single role we'll see on the Rift today. Starting with the top lane, of course, Bwipo versus Wunder. And when you talk about the flexibility that Fnatic has to show, so much of that comes down to what this guy can pull out in the pick and ban phase.
The key thing always when I think of Wunder, he's a player that adapts to his opposition. But how do you adapt to this? You have one, this is like a series or something. You have one, like every personality is on the board there. You have tanks, you have all of these things. I mentioned how Wunder adapts to his opponent in his lane. I feel like Bwipo adapts to the opposition. He picks that key champion that is going to cut the enemy in half, whether it's a Malphite into an Aphelios or a Zac into a Syndra with very low damage onto tanks. I feel like Bwipo has really found himself. I remember last year he was this Aatrox one trick, ban Aatrox, and you got him figured out. He's gonna pick Rengar or maybe GP, but now you have this, this fun little cocktail that we have on the screen right now.
And he's able to kind of twist how you think about matchups, and that's a lot of how Fnatic are dominating people in the lane phase. The early game is quite potent and powerful, and it doesn't just start at level 1, but it's the fact that when he picks these weird off-meta cocktail champions, then suddenly the other top laner is like, how does this matchup work? So what are my trade patterns? Do I need jungle assistance? Like, what is the kill pressure here? And then that's how Bwipo catches you off guard and dominates not only his lane, but then the map.
Because that leaves the question, right? Wunder can go deep. Last time they faced in best of fives, it was all about that Kled that cut, of course, Bwipo's champion pool in half. Now the question is, can Wunder find something else? Yesterday we saw the Cho'Gath, maybe something different. Wunder needs to dig deep.
Tall order for Wunder, and after a great run in the playoffs so far, Bwipo is very confident that Fnatic will win the title today. This is a clip from Euphoria.
I can say with confidence that I fully believe that the 3 will end up on our side of the scoreboard. How many games they end up racking up before that happens is something I don't know. That's just a feeling I get. Like, I'm very confident that we're going to win. I know we're going to win 3 games. I just don't know if that's going to take 5 games in total or if that's going to take 4 or 3. And that's what I look forward to, honestly. I really look forward to that fact. The fact that I know for a fact that my expectation is that we're winning. And I think that, I said, you need to set your expectation and losing's okay. Mm-hmm. It's not okay at the end. No matter what you do, you're always going to regret not winning a final. No matter what you do. So even if you set your expectations to, I hope I can hit 10 CS per minute in the finals, it's still going to feel awful when you lose. No matter how low your expectations are. And I think that that's why when I went to Worlds in 2018, for example, I just shot to the top, Like, no matter what I do, if I lose in quarters and groups, it's all going to suck. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, I'm winning Worlds.
Damn.
Same logic here. No matter what I do, if I don't win, it's going to feel awful. So I'm just going to say we're going to win. I know for a fact that we're going to win. I just believe it. I just can't not see a world where we don't win. I have a very hard time feeling that. Feeling the idea of, we're going to lose. And, maybe I'll eat my words and, a week from now, everyone's going to laugh at me for saying this.
No, Bwipo, don't put the caveat in. You've nailed it. You've got your mic drop moment. Don't put in the caveat. Just leave it there. It's so actually perfect. That is so, all right, I love it.
Oh, there you go. I love it too, you know. That's the winner's mentality. You have to envision that victory. And he remembers what happened in Athens just a couple of months ago and how much that hurt. So he's going to want to smack G2 across the face today. That is the top lane matchup. That is Bwipo. But in the jungle, we have the regular split MVP versus our possible playoffs MVP in Selfmade, who's been doing amazing so far.
And I'm going to come out and say it. Yeah, Jankos, you got MVP of the regular split. But personally, VODS said it yesterday. I'm starting to really lean and agree with him. I think Selfmade is the MVP of playoffs so far. He has just been an absolute beast. His Gragas has 90% win rate. The only loss that has suffered was that defeat that G2 gave him in the regular split. In playoffs, it's looked so clean. So, I don't know. I think he's got his work really cut out for him. Jankos hasn't really been in the form that he needs to take on this level that Selfmade is showing.
I feel like junglers are always the glue of the team. They piece things together, and when you have players on both rosters that are so explosive, they want so much out of their lane, they know how to attract attention and use it for good. It's very difficult to jungle with such precision that both Selfmade and, of course, Jankos have done. It's absolutely impressive, and I think coming into the finals, we have two players that are very, very similar in their play, and it's going to be super exciting to watch them listen, kick, and so forth.
And that's what I love. It's the fact that it is almost kind of like a mirrored matchup in what these guys will bring to the team. That it's not like one cerebral jungle versus a very aggressive jungler. It's both of these guys are stepping forward. They are testing you at every decision that you're making. They will hard gank the lanes. They have the mechanics to execute on it and to make it work for them. And then they also have the mind of how to play these mental games in the jungle and outpath each other.
And they'll be so important, of course, with the mid-jungle synergy being a huge focal point for both of these teams. And a good point made by Jankos earlier in his interview was we always think about, Mickey having to adjust to these different people that are in the bot lane with him. But also for Jankos and Perkz, the fact that they had that synergy in 2018 and now have to build it back up. That will influence what we will see in the mid lane between Nemesis and Perkz as well.
It was a super good throwback. It's easy to forget because when I think of those years, I remember the funnel, I remember the Heimendiggers and so forth, but Perkz and Jankos 2v2 mid lane has been very, very good this split. In playoffs, we've also seen glimpses of that brilliance, but when I compare the performance between Perkz and Nemesis, if I want to look at them as individuals, I think for the first time I felt like Nemesis in playoffs has performed better than Perkz, which kind of puts it into question. You know, Nemesis as a player, we mentioned it before, has only 1 year under his belt. Now he's coming into his third split. Now he's becoming better and better and might become that elite tier mid laner that we might speak about because he needs to show up in this matchup against Perkz.
It's the fact that you've kind of seen the evolution of Nemesis, that he's been more comfortable pulling out his Yasuo, playing to side lanes, that he'll pull out the Ornn and the Nautilus and he'll just neutralize matchups, whereas Perkz is like just playing the kill pressure game. He wants the dominant 2v2 mid jungle, and then he'll just force you under tower and just start ripping you apart.
Right. 3 fantastic matchups already, and now we get into a very spicy one also, I think, from a historic and story building perspective in that bottom lane. Rekkles versus Caps. Caps, who went from that winning Fnatic team to a G2, and now Rekkles gets to face him in the bot lane.
And Rekkles has to slay the hero that saved Fnatic and overcome the rival and the villain in G2. I mean, the kind of the high-level narrative point is that I need Rekkles to finally step up and to actually be the hard carry of Fnatic when it really matters, when they have their toughest competition. Because everyone who talks about Fnatic, the first name out of your mouth is always going to be Rekkles's. But it was never just Rekkles that kind of led them to glory. And now on this new iteration of Fnatic, with Nemesis, with Selfmade, with Bwipo showing up, like, it has to be Rekkles and Hilly.
Honestly, you know, I feel like looking back at how I described this matchup when Rekkles played against Perkz that first split, I would describe it the same way. Here we have this mid laner that went into bottom, that is exploring bot lane and learning it. We've seen it throughout the playoffs, the growth of Caps. We've seen occasional moments of blunder, of course, that are easy to remember. And on the other side, you have Rekkles and Hylissang that have so much experience in terms of figuring out these matchups and finding these moments where they can punish. I think either way is going to be super, super explosive. And I think looking back at history, you know, Perkz managed to pull it off. Maybe Caps can too. It is something that needs to be answered today.
It's also very different styles between these teams. Yanko said it in his interview, you can see it in the stats, it's almost like a hard camp bot lane since G2 have come into playoffs where Yankos is just sitting behind Caps and Mickey. Hilly and Reckless are not getting that same attention from Selfmade. In fact, they'll unlock a lot, they'll use the Misfortune, use the Strut passive to make quick rotations. Hilly is running teleport on his supports that he's carrying, like the Zillion appearing up into the top lane, so it's vastly different styles. And what's going to break today? Is Yankos going to force Reckless and Hilly to actually play the 2v2 and to fight them, or will Reckless and Hilly completely forego Mickey and Caps and actually play the map?
I think what's so amazing about Reckless and Hylissang is that last year was very deceptive. Everyone thought that, oh, this is the bot lane that you need to play around. But in reality, the team just came to terms with the idea that this is the best way for them to win games. I feel like they haven't been forced into that corner just yet, and it is something they have in their back pocket. The key thing about Fnatic's bot lane too is they are very tough to crack, very hard to gank, and yet they find opportunities to find these kills no matter what. They are the refined bot lane. They are the standard of Europe and the standard of European bot lanes for many years in the past and also for many years to come.
5 insane lanes going up against each other to win that spring split LEC title. If I summarize what I hear here from my analyst, in every role, they give the slight advantage or a bigger advantage to the side of Fnatic. Will that translate into their predictions? What are you going with?
Who wants to take it first? Yamato, you go first or am I going first?
I can go first.
Okay.
You know, on my end, there's so many intriguing things about this. I think Perkz is a player that levels up coming into bigger games. I think G2 always, when they face Fnatic, it was something else. They've mentioned before that they struggle with playing online. It's not the same thing as playing on a big stage. This is the time for them to show up. But I feel like the stars need to align a bit too much because on paper, Fnatic looks better. I think they're going to take a 3-2.
And now for the controversial one. I don't mean to be a G2 apologist, but frankly, when you look at the footage, if you remove that best of 5 upset from Mad, which was the biggest upset that we've seen, you have them in a rematch against Mad Lions and taking down Origin. And in those two series, G2 looked very, very clean, almost as clean as Fnatic. So I think that that one upset has really skewed things to people being so heavy on Fnatic's side. And when these two teams are in their best form, if you go back to the regular split, if you widen the amount of tape that you're taking in, G2 had Fnatic's number. They absolutely destroyed Fnatic in the first time that they met in the regular split. They stole the Baron and styled on them with Janna in the second time that they won the split. I think that we're going to see G2 in best form today. That's what I have to believe, and that's why I think G2 will win 3-2.
Honestly, it's heartbreaking to predict this one because it's so difficult.
Yeah.
It's like I can easily go either way because when you try to picture this matchup, it's so difficult because you know that the teams are going to look very different from how they look like in comparison to them facing other teams. It's going to be a unique matchup, and I'm just happy that we're here with G2 Fnatic facing each other because you know there will be fireworks. These are the moments where the elite players truly show themselves. They have those clutch moments that are going to be remembered forever, and those are the players like Perkz, like Reckless. This is where they get to bring out the big guns. In these previous best of 5s, it wasn't really necessary. Maybe in the Mad Lions series, sure, you can say it, but, you know, it felt like G2 was kind of, you know, out of place in that series. I want to put that in history. I don't care about this one. Coming into this best of 5 is going to look very, very different, and this is where the star players are going to shine.
It's kind of like that mentality of the only history that matters is the history that you make today, and I totally understand what you're saying, but I was trying to figure it out. I was like, is there any way that you can actually analytically match up Fnatic versus G2? So I went back to the tape and I was just watching how these two teams faced off in our most recent footage. And I feel that Fnatic usually have the stronger early game. The fact that they unlock Hilly, they use him in a lot more formations, they get him more involved. It feels like every time they have a great level 1 play that they kind of get the sucker punch. And it's like, if they get the snowball ahead on that, Fnatic can close, they can look just as dominant. But I think that G2 have the superior mid game in that they'll often play out to 1-3-1. They'll usually give Perkz a champion that he can play out on a side lane. And I have more confidence in Perkz and Wonder's ability to play side lanes, to pick the correct lane assignment every single time than I do Fnatic's. And so if Fnatic win, it's because Fnatic got the big wombo combo team fight. Hilly and Bwipo were able to find them, to crack them, to have those hard engage tools. If G2 win, it's because they split you up and they dissected you, and Perkz and Wonder made the right calls at the right moments.
We'll see. A lot to stew on because it will be very hard to predict what exactly we're going to see between these two teams. But one thing is sure, they're going to bring their best level of play because it's for all the marbles and it is for all that history that runs between G2 Fnatic in Europe so far and a chance for Fnatic to take that title back from G2 Esports. We will see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. The wait is over as we are ready now finally to crown our champions, and this is our spring final.
Days gone, I won't waste another one. Oh, that darkness, it won't set me back again.
It wasn't supposed to be this way. We were supposed to be in Budapest. We were supposed to be able to share these moments and memories together in person. This is Berlin, Germany, home of the LEC, my home, and for the first time ever, a home spring split final. Over the past few months, a lot has happened, and I miss seeing all of you in the studio, in the stadium, and out and about here in the city. But if I've learned one thing over the last few weeks, it's that the drive and the determination of our communities and countries will not be broken. We will rise above these troubled times together. True champions overcome adversity and adapt to the new circumstances. Today, we celebrate them, the best teams in League of Legends. This is the LEC, and we are EU. For Fnatic, it's Bwipo with 12 unique champions playing. G2's wonder never ceases to amaze as the top lane ambulance takes over. Jungle. For Fnatic, it's self-made, barreling his way into ganks. And for G2 Esports, it's Jankos, Europe's back-to-back split MVP. In the mid lane, Fnatic's nemesis slithers into lane. G2's mid laner Perks, the greatest Western player of all time. In the bot lane, the weapon of EU. It's Fnatic's Reckless! G2's Caps has silenced the haters in the bottom lane. In support, roaming to wreck your lane, it's Hylissang! G2's Mickey has a death sentence targeted at your soul. Rock, paper, scissors. Mickey comes out on top. 7-time champions Fnatic, 6-time champions G2, the greatest rivalry in League of Legends. Fnatic versus G2.
And what a final it is likely to be here, Vedi. I'm honoured to be joined by you on the caster desk for our first duo cast of a final in a very long time.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one, Medic. I couldn't ask for a better partner. We are, of course, going to be jumping straight into Champions Select for Fnatic versus G2. It is the best of 5 that everyone has been anticipating. Many expected 2 in the same way that we got it last split, but due to the upset by Mad Lions, we were robbed of it. But now it is finally coming to pass. I can't wait to see it, and I'm curious as to what the priorities are going to be. Fnatic will be on the blue side. So far in playoffs, they have consistently been banning away the Kalista. Medic, regardless of what side they're on, they just take it off the board.